On a quiet afternoon in a suburban neighborhood in America, 72-year-old Vietnam veteran William Carter was walking home from a toy shopping trip with his 7-year-old grandson, Ethan. Spending time with Ethan was William's greatest joy. Holding hands, the two began crossing a crosswalk when the sound of a revving engine pierced the air. A young man in his 20s, intoxicated and speeding in a luxury sports car, came hurtling down the road. Before he could even hit the brakes, the car slammed into William and Ethan, sending them both to the ground. The horrific sound of the collision shocked bystanders, who watched in disbelief as the two lay motionless. The young driver tried to flee the scene, but witnesses quickly stopped him and handed him over to the police. William and Ethan were rushed to the hospital. William's leg had been crushed, leaving him permanently confined to a wheelchair. Tragically, despite days of intensive care, Ethan succumbed to his injuries. The loss of the young boy and William's life-changing injuries left their family and the community in mourning. Months later, the court date finally arrived. William entered the courtroom, hopeful that justice would be served. He believed the driver would face the consequences of his reckless actions. But the young man's father, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the region, had assembled a powerful team of lawyers who manipulated the proceedings in his favor. Throughout the trial, William could feel the influence of the driver's father overshadowing the case. In the end, William's worst fears came true. The young driver received only 6 months in jail and a fine, a light sentence justified by claims that he had lost control of the vehicle. Despite Ethan's death and the devastating impact on William's life, the court bowed to the power of wealth rather than delivering true justice. After the trial, William returned home in his wheelchair, overwhelmed by grief and despair. For days, he sat in silence, staring at Ethan's old toys. The injustice weighed heavily on him, plunging him into a deep depression. One sleepless night, consumed by despair and anger, William scrolled aimlessly through the internet. Suddenly, he came across an article describing Donald Trump as a fair and just leader. The words struck a chord, reigniting the pain and frustration that had been festering within him. In a moment of raw emotion, William decided to do something he had never done before. He tweeted directly at Trump, "Dear President Trump, I lost my grandson Ethan and my legs, but I've also lost faith in justice. The son of a rich man killed my grandson, and the court gave him only 6 months in jail. I voted for you, but now I ask, who will fight for my rights?" Within hours, William's heartfelt message began to spread across social media like wildfire. Thousands of people shared his tweet, voicing their outrage at the injustice he had faced. The post quickly caught the attention of Donald Trump himself. The very next morning, Trump instructed his team to investigate William's situation. "This man has suffered enough," he said firmly. "We need to ensure that justice is served." Early one morning, William sat silently in his wheelchair, staring at Ethan's small toy train resting on the table. In his hand was a worn photo of his grandson, whose joyful laughter still echoed in his mind. He sighed deeply, setting the photo down as the sound of a knock on the door broke the heavy silence. When he opened the door, he was greeted by none other than Donald Trump himself. Trump extended his hand with genuine warmth, his eyes reflecting the weight of the story he had read. "Mr. Carter," he began in a steady but empathetic tone, "I've heard your story, and the injustice you've faced has deeply affected me. Losing your grandson is a pain no one should endure, but I promise you, justice will prevail." William's eyes filled with tears as he gazed at Trump. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Mr. Trump, I voted for you because you gave me hope, because you seemed like the kind of leader who stood for people like me. But now I see that in this country, wealth always seems to triumph over justice. Ethan's smile, his dreams, nothing can bring those back. But please don't let them forget him. I've already lost everything, but his innocence deserves to be remembered." Trump listened intently, visibly moved by William's words. He asked to sit beside him, lowering himself to William's level. "Mr. Carter," he said softly, "your grandson Ethan embodies the purest values this country stands for. We will honor his innocence. Men like you are the backbone of this nation. You've endured wars, pain, and loss, but no one has the right to treat you with this kind of injustice. I will make this right." William placed his head in his hands, his voice breaking as he recounted the tragic day. He was so happy that day, William whispered hoarsely. He couldn't wait to buy that toy. As we stood at the crosswalk, he held my hand so tightly and said, "Grandpa, when we get home, I'll build a castle with this toy." But then that car came. I still hear the sound of it. I had to let go of his hand because I was thrown to the ground. I couldn't protect him. I couldn't save him. Trump's jaw tightened as he listened, his hand resting firmly on William's shoulder. His other hand clenched into a fist, the weight of William's words igniting a deep resolve. "Mr. Carter," Trump said firmly, "no one will forget Ethan's innocence, and no one will forget the sacrifices you've made for this country. Justice cannot and will not be bought. Men like you have kept this nation strong. Now it's my turn to fight for you." Through his tears, William turned to Trump, his voice filled with desperation and a flicker of hope. "Mr. Trump, you might be the last person I believe in. Please help me. Help me for Ethan, for his memory. He was just 7 years old. His life was only beginning." Taking a deep breath, Trump locked eyes with William. "Ethan's memory will make a difference in this country. Your pain will ensure that no one else has to endure the injustice you faced. I promise you, Mr. Carter, we will win this fight." In that moment, William felt more than just comfort. He felt a renewed determination. Trump's words were not empty. They were a promise, not just to William, but to every person who had ever faced injustice. That day marked a turning point, not only for William's fight, but for the countless others inspired by his story. Trump's team acted swiftly, reopening the case and meticulously reviewing every detail. The investigation revealed significant irregularities in the initial trial, and these findings were brought to light. Trump publicly declared that this was not just a personal tragedy for one family, but a critical test of the nation's faith in its justice system. The media picked up the story, and the public's outrage grew louder with each passing day. The new trial brought undeniable evidence against the young driver, proving his reckless actions had caused Ethan's death and irreparably altered William's life. This time, justice was served. The court sentenced the driver to the maximum penalty, life in prison. The verdict was celebrated as a victory not just for William and his family, but for everyone who believed in the power of justice to prevail over wealth and privilege. After the trial, Trump and William reunited at a charity event held in Ethan's honor. The event was a poignant reminder of Ethan's life and the importance of standing against injustice. Taking the microphone, William wiped away tears as he addressed the crowd. "You cannot bring my grandson back, but you have honored his memory by restoring justice. Ethan can rest in peace now, knowing that we didn't remain silent in the face of injustice. Mr. Trump, I am forever grateful to you. You kept your promise, and you protected my grandson's innocence." Amid the crowd's applause, Trump placed a hand on William's shoulder and spoke with heartfelt sincerity. "Mr. Carter, people like you are the foundation of this country. Ethan's innocence has become a symbol for all of us, a reminder to fight for what is right. Justice is the soul of this nation, and we will protect it at all costs. Ethan's memory will inspire a better justice system and a brighter future for all." In that moment, William, who had been engulfed in darkness, found a renewed sense of purpose. Honoring Ethan's memory and witnessing justice finally being served gave him not only solace, but also a reason to carry on. As the event came to a close, William held a small photo of Ethan in his hand and quietly thanked Trump. That moment was more than just an interaction between a leader and a citizen. It was a testament to the power of compassion, perseverance, and solidarity in overcoming grief and restoring hope.